All right, let's have some fun today. Top 5 biggest surprises in the NHL right now through the first week of games. Now, a little disclaimer for when I say that and when we get into this list. We are obviously only a couple games into the NHL season for most teams. In fact, there's a few teams that I'm going to talk about here maybe that have only played one. Here is the current NHL standings. You can tell that every team is at, 3 to 5 games essentially. I think the Devils are actually the only team to have 5. Hey, let's talk about some surprises on the stat sheet, some surprises in the standings, and overall some things that have caught my eye through this season. Now, first off, if you're new, subscribe down below. We're getting closer to 3,000. I would appreciate it, and let's get into the video now. Number 1. I'm wearing them right now. The Calgary Flames, through their first 3 games of the season, are undefeated. 3-0. Off to a very impressive start to their season. You come in and you play Vancouver. They immediately went down 4-1 in the first couple of games, and people were like, yeah, it's going to be a rough year for the Flames. Then they come back from that 4-1 lead. I actually had to scratch my eyes and make sure it wasn't Toronto. I'm sorry. So they end up taking that game in overtime against the Canucks, and they can put a little bit of an asterisk next to it because, Vancouver didn't have Demko. You could absolutely say that, I guess. Then they go in and play Philadelphia on last Saturday night, who actually came off of beating Vancouver as well. So props to you, Calgary and Philly, for beating Vancouver. Anyway, the Flames get off to a pretty hot start. It gets close there for a little bit, but the Flames end up winning the game 6-3 over the Flyers in their home opener, honoring Johnny Gaudreau. And then, last night, the Flames play the Oilers, who we'll get into in a little bit here, but the Flames end up beating them 4-1, overcoming a few leads in the process. Now, I guess you can put this into a little bit of a side note for the Calgary Flames, but Jonathan Huberdeau, remember that guy? The guy who was traded in the Matthew Tkachuk deal 2 years ago. If you remember my video, it was insane. But he gets traded in that deal, signed a $10.5 million contract for the next 8 seasons, struggled the last 2 years, but in the first 3 games, he has 3 goals and 5 points. Again, if you watched a lot of my Calgary Flames videos over the last couple of months, I would have said that you're better off just putting Huberdeau on that first line and just seeing if you can make something good out of him, and maybe you can do an Erik Karlsson type thing in the next, few years down the road. Maybe. And it seems like he's off to a pretty hot start, so Flames fans cannot help but be pretty happy about that, considering the fact that the last couple of seasons have been a real struggle for the guy. Also, someone else who has caught my eye, and I might be saying his name wrong, but Marty Pospisil looks pretty good through these first couple of games too. He has 1 goal and 5 points and has only played about 60 career NHL games. So that's pretty impressive. Now, on the goaltending end of things, Dustin Wolf and Dan Vladar have split the net. Vladar's played 2, Wolf's played 1. Both look pretty solid. I'll put up their numbers right here. I would say those are decent numbers, but again, it's pretty early. And that's kind of what I'm going to say to wrap up this segment. It's early. We know Calgary might struggle through the other parts of this season, but if they do keep this kind of hot start up, I think that's a good thing, because there was a lot of people who really thought this team wasn't going to do much, myself included. Anyway, let's move on to the Providence of Alberta and talk about another kind of surprise. And I'm going to try to speed through it because it might be my video topic tomorrow. But the Edmonton Oilers are 0-3 to start the season. And the crazy thing is, they have been at home for all 3 of these games too. They start off home opener against the Winnipeg Jets. Tensions are high. The last game that was played in this arena was when they won Game 6 in a crazy fashion. And then they go in there and they drop a bomb. They lose 6-0. Then, on Hockey Night in Canada, against the Chicago Blackhawks, who were second last in the league last year, they lose 5-2. And they don't even hold a lead at all in that game. Keep in mind, both of these games were at home as well. And so was the third one against, this team. Oilers ended up losing to the Flames 4-1. Again, they won up 1-0. They had a few goals that were called off, but they ended up losing the game 4-1. And it puts them in a very interesting spot now. Now, if you're having a little bit of deja vu, you're right. This happened basically last year. And I said this after they lost to Calgary last night. I was like, are you guys just going to do this again? Really? What I thought was very notable through the first 3 games is Connor McDavid's not leading this team in scoring. Neither is Draisaitl. Neither is Bouchard. Neither is Hyman. Neither is Nugent-Hopkins. It's Jeff Skinner. Really? I get it's 3 games, but Jeff Skinner, wow. By the way, he's tied for first. Jeff Skinner has never made the playoffs in his NHL career, and going to the Oilers, who were just in the Stanley Cup Finals. Hopefully he was hoping to finally break in there, but doesn't look like a good start already. And the goaltending has been pretty notably lackluster. Stuart Skinner, through the first 2 games, now keep in mind this is the first 2 games, but he has gone 0-2, a 5.4 goals against average, and a .805 save percentage. Yeah, I know it's 2 games, but that's still pretty brutal. When you guys are watching this video, the Oilers would have played the Flyers, or will be playing the Flyers tonight on October 15th. If they lose, there's a good chance I'm making a video about them tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But if they win, I might hold off a little bit and see if they make this comeback. And again, I want to preface this like what I said with Calgary. It's early. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference. Now, there really isn't a lot of things that have surprised me in the East just yet, mainly because it's just so early right now, and there's actually a few teams that haven't even played more than 1 game. But the New Jersey Devils have surprised me, but not for the reason that you guys might be thinking. The Devils are first in the league, and they are 4-1. 2 wins in the Global Series, 2 wins in North America. They look pretty good right now, and so does Jacob Markstrom, in fact. But if you actually looked at their stat sheet, you would kind of be a little bit surprised with what you've seen here from who's actually been scoring their offense. You look at their big guys. Jack Hughes, 3 assists. That's not bad, but you would think that he would have more with the way the Devils are playing. Nico Hischier, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Those are good metrics, but again, you would think there'd be a little bit more. Jesper Bratt, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. Those are good numbers, but again, you'd think there'd be a little bit more, so it makes you kind of wonder who the hell is scoring for the New Jersey Devils. Well, I'll give you guys the answer. Their leading scorer is Stefan Noesen. Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying that right. Noesen, I believe, was a depth forward they picked up in the offseason to come into their bottom 6. He has 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points, and that's not even the craziest one on there. Paul Cotter, the guy they picked up from Vegas in that very confusing trade that sent Alexander Holtz to the Golden Knights, which some people really scratched their heads about, he has 4 goals through the first 4 games of the season. And we know that a lot of the Devils' defensemen are currently injured right now. I believe Luke Hughes is out of the lineup. I think there's somebody else, I can't think of his name, but they're missing a few guys on that blue line to start the season. But Seamus Casey, because of that, has made this team as a rookie. He has 4 points and 3 goals. This team is playing incredibly well just with their depth pieces, essentially. And that's a really good thing. You want that. You want your team to be scoring on the depth chart. And I think for a team like the Devils, who kind of struggled a lot last year when guys like Hughes and Hischier, etc. were out of the lineup, I think they could really benefit from this. But again, want to preface, it's early. For my 4th surprise, I'm going to go over to Colorado, where the Avalanche are also 0-3. And not only are they 0-3, Colorado's goaltending looks atrocious right now. Through their first 3 games, the Avalanche have played the Vegas Golden Knights, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the New York Islanders. 2 of those 3 being at home. They started off with an 8-4 loss against the Vegas Golden Knights, where you see Alex Georgiev get pulled. Then they play against Columbus, and you see Alex Georgiev get pulled. Then they play against the Islanders, and Georgiev doesn't get pulled, but plays the whole game. Through those 3 games, the Avalanche have been outscored 20-10 down that stretch, and a lot of the fault has been put on Georgiev because he seems to not be able to make a save. His stats for the season, playing 3 games, I guess you could say pretty much 2 because he got pulled in both of them. But he has a 6.58 goals against average and a .790 save percentage. That is worse than Skinner's stats that I read earlier. Now, there's a lot of people, including myself, who jump to conclusions saying that Colorado needs to go get a goaltender now and go, do all these things. But Bednar came out and said that they're not going to worry about that. Georgiev's their guy. They do believe that is a mental thing, and we'll see where it goes from here. But obviously, starting off your season 0-3 when you were projected to be pretty good is surprising. And again, it's early. Now, we talked about 2 good surprises, 2 bad surprises. We're going to go straight down the middle for the last one. It's a good and a bad one, to be honest. The Toronto Maple Leafs have started their season out 2-1 with a loss to the Canadiens, then a win against the Devils, and then a win against the Penguins. They look solid right now, I can't lie. Matthews, the guy who scored 69 goals last year, the guy who won a Rocket Trophy, has no points through the first 3 games. And, a player having no points, that might be surprising for certain players. But for Matthews, it's actually really groundbreaking because this guy should at least have 2 or 3 goals at this point already. If you guys remember last year when Matthews won the Rocket, there were talks of him getting 70 after the first 2 games where he scored 6 goals already. So, seeing him start off with a 0 stat line across the board is a little bit concerning. But it would be concerning if the Leafs were losing, but the Leafs are winning. A lot of their goals have come from other players in the lineup, not specifically the core 4 either. Nylander and Marner do have 3 combined, but guys like Lorentz, Bobby McMann, Max Pacioretty, and Matthew Knies have also scored goals as well. So right now, I would say it's a good surprise because the Leafs are still winning after scoring with all this depth. And it's also kind of a bad surprise because Matthews has no points for the first 3 games. But again, it's early. And I also want to mention that Anthony Stolarz and Dennis Hildeby have both looked pretty good in the games that they've played. But anyways, those are 5 big surprises for me to start the 2024-25 season. Of course, when we get further into the year, I will start making videos on specific teams and talking about things like that. But right now, it's a little bit early to tell. You may see a video about the Oilers tomorrow if they do lose tonight. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.